This is a human, the first exploration of the unknown Mars. But we met on Mars. An unprecedented storm of terror. Strong cyclones carry red sand, dancing in the sky. Immediately after, the terrifying storm turned into the shape of a python. This storm behemoth from Mars opened his bloody mouth, pounds on the astronauts. Countless dodging astronauts were wiped out by the storm. Number inhaled into the lungs. Only a few survivors remain. When this terrifying storm dissipates, one actually appeared on the surface of Mars. Huge stone statue of a human face. And what they don't know is, this stone statue of a human face turned out to be from alien hand. Behind this, hidden a shocking secret, and the true purpose of this Mars exploration. It was originally just a science competition. During the Cold War of the last century, the United States and the former Soviet Union, it was a race to explore space. So the first human journey to explore Mars. And so it began. This look, handsome man wearing sunglasses named Jim. He and his wife are the best astronauts to explore space, has been training for up to 12 years. But just as we were about to go into space, wife died accidentally. Heartbroken Jim failed the liftoff test, and instead of Jim going to space, it's his friend Luke. So astronaut Luke, the first explorers represented, went to Mars, and it took a year. Finally established Base 1 on Mars. After the exploration officially began, Luke they found out through the rover. On the surface of Mars, there is a mysterious hill. And up on the hill, a snow-white color also appeared. It looks like an iceberg on Earth. So the command center on Earth immediately brought in geology. Scientists and hydrologists conducted an analysis. Find this below, likely to contain biological evidence. So in order to explore further, Luke, they've been a few days away. He successfully arrived at the bottom of the hill. Found on this surface, there is a large number of strange stone pillars. What they had mistaken for an iceberg, it turned out to be a piece of metal. This shocked several people. So I took out the detector and started testing. Unexpectedly, the signal was suddenly interrupted during the detection process. This sudden malfunction makes Luke a little uneasy. Then the terrifying tornado came. The two companions were directly formed by the storm, swallowed into the stomach. Another companion was also killed by the boulder. Luke was the only one left because he was buried in rubble. Dodged this disaster. The news quickly got back to the command center. According to common sense, a storm of this magnitude occurs on Mars. Humans have no chance of survival, but located on Mars, the supply ship above is alright. There was no disturbance. And then, a message from the Mars base also reached the command center. Luke looks like he's seriously injured. The situation they encountered with their teammates told the crowd. Everyone was shocked by the news. To rescue the surviving Luke, the command center is ready to send a team immediately. Go up and support Luke. For people led by Woodrow, embarked on a rescue operation. After more than 100 days of flight, a few people finally saw the surface of Mars through the ship's monitors. They found that on the surface of Mars, there is still a huge storm, and inside the Mars base, there seems to be no sign of life. This made the hearts of the three of them sink. Thought Luke had died. I didn't expect, but found it not far from the base. There are actually 3 humble graves. This means that Luke is very likely still alive, just hiding somewhere. In order to investigate the truth of the matter, after Jim and others put on their spacesuits, getting ready to land on Mars in a spacecraft, but I didn't expect the next second. The instrument glass inside the spaceship suddenly shattered, directly penetrated the palm of player Phil. Blood floats in the capsule and fly in one direction. The system also sent a prompt. It indicates that the spacecraft is now seriously damaged. Building blocks think. Most likely because the capsule was broken. As a result, the air pressure inside the spacecraft is gradually losing. To repair the ship, Woodrow has a repair gun. Just fly along the position of the blood. Sure enough, he saw the broken position inside the spaceship. But just as he took out the repair gun, when ready to repair the damage, the system suddenly prompted everyone, the air in the spaceship. And now we have 4 hours left. But there is still a damage that has not been repaired yet. For the spacecraft to land smoothly, Woodrow flies out of the capsule alone. His wife, Connie, tried to help her husband find the damaged location faster. Take out a pack of Coke and release the liquid. I saw the liquid under the action of vacuum, flying towards a crack. Woodrow was ecstatic, immediately flew towards the damage. But today's spacecraft only have 10% oxygen left inside. The reason why Jim is not wearing a space helmet. I can't breathe anymore. Then fell into a coma. Fortunately, Connie discovered the situation in time, pulled out the oxygen mask and saved Jim's life. Woodrow on the other side also hurry up. Start repairing now. Just a second before the oxygen is about to run out. The oxygen system in the spacecraft has finally been restored. And the mountain inside the spaceship also woke up from a coma. Come here. Woodrow still wanted to keep checking. But since the spacecraft is already approaching the orbit of Mars, so he had to go back to his cabin immediately. He didn't find it at this moment. There is a huge crack in the tail of the spacecraft. Will lead them to the abyss of destruction. And everyone inside is still logging in. Preparation before. After seeing that the system is all normal, he follows the process to start delivering the fuel. But when the fuel is exported, previously undiscovered damage, it started leaking fuel in the ultra-low temperatures of space, instantly turned into ice cubes. The few people in the spaceship are still unaware of the crisis. Coming soon, still preparing for ignition to start landing. The icicles are already floating under, gradually came to the position of breathing fire. The moment Jim presses the start button, all systems on the spaceship were paralyzed in an instant. There were violent tremors. It turned out that at the moment of the fire, huge flames directly ignited the frozen fuel. Then there was a violent explosion. Now the whole ship is paralyzed. Woodrow's first instinct was to find supplies. Spacecraft. But the spacecraft is still some distance away from the spacecraft. But now only the gas boat is left. Leave this one way. They can now only do it by spraying from a spacesuit device to attempt to enter the spacecraft. Several people are connected to each other using traction ropes, but the spacecraft is too far away from them, with just the fuel in the spacesuit, not close enough to the spacecraft at all. The only hope now, it can only be pinned on the lazy rope. Woodrow hands the leash to Jim. Then I unhooked my body, then drifted towards the spacecraft alone. As the spacesuit's fuel runs out, he can only rely on the attractive force in the air, heading towards the spaceship. Now all hope is in Woodrow. I'm about to touch the ship. He saw the opportunity and put the lazy rope in the buckle, but Woodrow didn't arrive in time. Grab the lazy rope, cause the whole person to fly out. It's getting farther and farther away from the spaceship. Connie shouted desperately for her husband behind her, but for now they have to get into the spaceship first, to be able to rescue each other. Upon arrival at the spacecraft, Connie uses fuel from Aerospace Fury, flying some distance ahead, then launched the leash to save her husband, but just a little bit. Traction rope last, still not in Woodrow's hands. This heralds the end of Wood Lawson's hopes. In order to prevent his wife from spending time wasted on yourself, Woodrow smiled and opened his helmet. With the naked body in space, his body was instantly covered with a layer of ice crystals, then lost vital signs. Connie's heart is aching, but to live up to her husband's sacrifice, he returned to the spaceship with tears in his eyes. After much hardship, the three who survived finally landed on the surface of Mars. They arrived at the base with the difficult supplies. After being inspected, they discovered that the oxygen supply system at the base is normal, and other devices are fine. Even Jim found out, in the greenhouse chamber everything is normal. Not only food but also fresh water. So where did Luke go? The moment he took off his helmet, Luke's figure suddenly appeared behind him, and launched a massive attack on him. It turns out that many days of living alone has brought Luke to the brink of mental breakdown. He thought Jim in front of him was his hallucination. Just in the nick of time. Jim, quickly tell me when the two were on Earth. Something happened. These familiar images calmed Luke down. Phil and the others arrived, immediately took Luke's weapon, recovered Luke. When they learned that they are here to save themselves, I was so moved that I cried. When asked about what happened during this time, Luke told a few people, there is a tremendous amount of energy on Mars. That energy killed his teammates. He was desperate too, but think about it later. I feel like someone has to survive. Uncover these secrets. A few people thought Luke was stranded on Mars for nearly a year. There may be something wrong with the brain, but when Luke put the human face statue, after playing in front of yourself, their faces were in shock. This statue is entirely human. The current Earth doesn't have this technology at all. So that's Mars. There may be other life forms. Then Luke turned to Mars. Play them the strange sound that exists on. Luke discovered during this year. There's a pattern to this sound. It's a recurring pattern. He spent for months studying the sound. Finally found the source of the sound. It's got to be a set of genes. DNA. But right now, they can't be sure either. What does this DNA stand for? So, the most important thing now is to repair the spaceship immediately, then return to Earth. But when packing, building blocks found by chocolate chips dropped from the ground. That DNA could very well be a clue. An alien test. They wanted somebody like Jim to have their chromosomes replenished. Prove that you are an Earthling. So they had to go to the statue. But this operation is dangerous. If Jim's guess is wrong, then you may die. Just in case. They decided to use the rover first to conduct experiments. After approaching, the rover sent out edited mysterious audio. I didn't expect it to be at this time. The bottom of the face statue, a white light appeared. To explore what's inside, they left Phil in the spaceship, monitor the signals of several people. Then the three of them came to the door of light, with the determination to find out, and they went inside. I found that there was a piece in it, pure white and flawless enclosed space. And as the light door is closed, their communication with the ship was also cut off. Then Jim went through the system of the spacesuit. It turns out that the air pressure here is the same as that of the Earth. Luke didn't have time to stop him. I saw Jim open the spacesuit gloves. See, everything is fine. Several people took off their helmets directly. Subsequently, a black door appeared behind the three of them. They looked at each other and walked in. I didn't expect to be in space the next second. The full picture of the Milky Way was revealed in front of several people. Then they saw a blue planet. This turned out to be the predecessor of Mars. Only with the impact of a meteorite, Mars has completely lost its beautiful appearance. Immediately after, An alien appeared in front of them. He had a cup of rice on his face. The two sides were speechless. After looking at Mars, countless spacecraft on Mars have flown into space, and the chromosomes in the hands of aliens was also loaded into a spacecraft and went into space, finally landed on what was once the Earth. As the ship plunges into the ocean, chromosomes brought by aliens began to evolve on Earth. Ancient fish also began to appear. Over billions of years, those fish became amphibians on land. Over time, humans and other animals also began to appear. Eventually, it became the Earth it is today. And all this, it's all genes left by aliens, evolved from. Then the aliens opened a teleportation device. Then it disappeared into the universe. Then the communication device returned to normal again. Connie and the two were ready to leave immediately, but Jim stayed. He walked towards the alien teleportation device. Because there is no memory of my wife, Jim decides to leave with the aliens, and Luke, they decided to support Jim's decision, so they left Jim behind, left this space, just before Phil was about to launch the spacecraft, back to base, and the statue of the human face also began to explode. Huge energy. Suddenly, another terrifying storm appeared on Mars. Fortunately, the three of them took advantage of the force of this energy, successfully entered space. They saw with their own eyes the ship carrying Jim, sailed to the depths of the universe, returning to the homeland where he created himself.